All right. So what do you guys think of a competition? Because listen, I get people online all the time that say they can braze just as fast as someone can press. Well, what do you think of a competition where we lay out 10 fittings and someone can braze 10 and someone can press 10? Who do you think is going to win that competition? I say the press is going to win, and quite handily with lots of time to spare. Anyway, just to segue into the conversation I'm going to have with Jessica Slaugter, who is with Rapid Locking System. And we get into things like why people push back, common mistakes, main places that people are pressing nowadays. And I give my take on that. The first press is 13 years old. That's in service still with Rapid Locking System at their old location. We talk about that right off the bat. So we're going to get into this with Jessica Slaugter in part one of this conversation. This is the HVAC Know-It-All podcast. I'm your host, Gary McCreadie. Top contractors across the U.S. only. This one's going to be pretty cool to expand your marketing reach. Property.com is an exclusive network for certified pros. You can get your own custom Property.com webpage for free. You can also get AI-powered reputation management and get some great lead generation and prospecting tools. The Know Before You Go tool is pretty cool. It gives critical homeowner data like how much they've paid on past jobs. Join Property.com's exclusive network now to expand your reach with homeowners across the U.S. Use McCreadie.property.com. So that's MCCREADIE property.com to fill out the form to get approved. All right, Jessica, I believe this is your first time on the podcast, and I'm actually unbelieved that, if that's even a word, that this is actually true, because I know Paul was on before and stuff like that, but I'm sure you've done your round of podcasts over the last few years, being so heavily involved with RLS.
Yeah, this is my first time on HVAC Know-It-All.
Congrats. We're glad you're here. So what I want to talk about, and I mean, you see it all the time, their press for refrigeration is still very polarizing. There's still people that love it. There's people that hate it. There's still people on the fence trying to figure out if they should try it, maybe waiting a little bit longer to see if their coworkers or colleagues try it and any good luck comes out of it. So I'd like to talk to you because the company's been around for 10 years now-ish, around that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But the first press is older than that because there was R&D and all that kind of stuff leading up to the launch of the actual array of fittings that you guys offer. So the first press was something like 2012, was it not? So something in that area?
That was, I mean, obviously that wasn't the first pressed, but that is our first installed press fitting that is at one of our old factory locations in an AC unit outside of the R&D lab.
Yeah, and that's still in service currently.
Yep.
So, okay. So as far as we can tell, the longevity is 13 years at minimum, because we've gone 13 years with that still being in service. So that's a good sign. I mean, nowadays, equipment, we're talking about equipment lasting 15 to 20 years at the very, very most, even with proper maintenance, because we all know that equipment manufacturing is a bit different than it used to be 30, 40 years ago. So it seems like even 10 to 15 years, people are swapping out equipment if it's not maintained correctly.
I mean, that's all appliances too.
Yeah.
Like nobody's refrigerator or dishwasher or anything lasts that long.
Yeah, it's crazy these days. But then you have the old garage fridges that people take out of their kitchen, put in their garage for their beer, and they're still running, but they're drawing immense amounts of power. Like, I mean, it's crazy the amount of power that these old appliances draw. To your knowledge, what was the reason that RLS designed a press fitting to be used in the field? What was there something behind it? Was it, hey, there's a lot of people coming to us and saying we can't light torches in a building? Was it because people were not using torches properly and not flowing nitrogen? And there could be a lot of different things. But to your knowledge, why did the company begin this process?
I'm sure, like you said, it's all of those things, but really it was, a group on the innovation team at our Cero Flow Products, which is a copper tube manufacturer. And they were going, well, this exists in plumbing and in water. How can we make this exist in HVAC refrigeration? and design something that can be or can withstand the high pressures that come along with this industry. And so that's really where it started, was if it can be for them, it can be for HVAC too. And so they started concepting and doing their trials and tribulations and true R&D to figure it all out, because it was a bigger engineering project, you could say, because of the PSI difference.
Yeah. So we're talking here, correct me if I'm wrong, 700 PSI we're good for with an RLS fitting?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what we're listed for.
Yeah. Now, but it's funny because on the YouTube channel that you guys have, and I don't know if you've put any videos up recently, but 3-4 years ago when I was doing my deep dive and working alongside you guys to test and all that kind of stuff, the product, the videos of you guys hydrostatic, like the hydrostatic pump you're using, right? You're putting these things up to 3,000-4,000 PSI hydrostatically, and the copper pipe is bursting and before the fitting, and the fitting is not blowing apart. So that's a positive thing. When you can see 3,000 to 4,000 PSI, the fitting is not blowing apart from the pipe and it's not bursting, and the pipe is. So, I mean, that is done right at the manufacturing plant.
Yeah, and we also have one of those burst chambers on our roadshow truck that travels around the U.S. And so people can actually press the fitting themselves during a demo and then hook it up into that chamber and pressurize it themselves. And we typically use 3/8 for all of our demos because it's just easiest for us to make. Hook it up to one of those Schrader valves, put it into the burst chamber, and that thing usually will go anywhere from like 3,200 to 3,600 PSI before the Schrader valve tube bursts.
That's pretty incredible. So, I mean, there's a lot of thought process that goes into this. So, I mean, I was just at the Noble Trade Show here locally in Toronto. One of the
I was
things
supposed to be at that, Gary.
Oh, were you? Well, I'm
Yeah,
upset.
I missed my flight on accident.
Oh, okay. I'm upset that we missed you then. But so we were doing live product demos, and Rigid was one of the live product demos, and they make jaws for RLS, and they make also jaws for Viga. Now, whenever I'm posting or talking about RLS, everybody calls it ProPress, like the brand name Kleenex or the brand name Freon. People just use it simultaneously like it's the same thing. But let's talk about this for a minute, because Viga makes plumbing fittings, RLS makes refrigeration fittings. They're two totally different things. So let's talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I always hear ProPress for ACR or HVAC. And it is definitely like they're the Kleenex of press fitting category. But to me, Viga is a very respected brand. People value their brand equity and their products. And, if somebody wants to put us up next to a really good brand, that's cool with me, as long as they know when they go into the supply house they're using, their counter person or whoever is able to help them get the right product for the right application.
Yeah, and this is the thing, because if the people that are on the fence want to press refrigeration and they go into, because they're not fully educated, they go into a supplier and they say, listen, I want to buy the ProPress jaws and the tool, that whoever makes the jaw, the tool, it doesn't matter. But they want to press refrigeration. Then they start buying RLS fittings and using a ProPress jaw designed for ProPress on an RLS fitting. They're going to have a lot of problems. And I mean, I've seen videos of people using those types of jaws on RLS, and they had no idea the two were different.
I won't say it happens a lot, thankfully.
It's happening less.
Yes, it's happening less as more education is getting out there and like more awareness is out there about the differences, especially as people realize, like on the plumbing side, like Viga's patent's been up for years, so there's lots of entrants in that market that can mimic them and make the same product and have a lot of cross compatibility. But in refrigeration fitting land, there's no cross compatibility, but within the brand's jaws and fittings. The tools have different compatibility, but you definitely do not want to use the wrong manufacturer's jaw on an RLS press fitting, because our product, different than the plumbing and some of the other people out there, is a 360-degree press and has the full contact on that copper tube. So if you use a plumbing jaw and go press it, that presses hexagonally, and that will leave 6 different points on our fitting that it's not meant to have.
Yeah, and I think you're right, though. It's happening less because there's more education coming out now. And it's talked about more, and it's not so taboo anymore. I remember when I first started, this happens to me all the time, Jess, is like, I'll take something that is new and sort of borderline, I guess the word I'm looking for is controversial, because it can be controversial when it first comes out. So I'll take things like that, and I'll start talking about them, posting about them, and then I start getting laughed at, right? Ha ha ha, you're a hack, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how many times I was called a hack when I first got my hands on RLS and started talking about it and making videos of fitting things and stuff like that. And then 3-4 years later, it's like when I make a post about RLS, those comments are starting to diminish, and more comments are starting to be like, yeah, I want to press, or I've been pressing for this long and haven't had a problem. There are people that say that the only problems they've had is through the process in which someone has failed. Someone has failed to do the correct process in prepping, and they have had failed fittings because of it. So I want to talk to you about the common mistakes that people are making when pressing. And here's the thing. A lot of people say you're taking the skill out of the trade, but why is it that so many people are not pressing correctly? Isn't that's a skill on its own? But we've got technicians that have been in the trade brazing for 30 years. They get their hand on a press tool and now they're doing it wrong. So it's not taking skill out of the trade if you can't even press properly. It's adding another skill to it, right? And it's having both. And nobody's telling you not to braze. I'm not telling you not to braze or learn or not to learn how to braze. Know how to do both, because one day you might be put in a situation where you got to do both on the same job, right? It might happen.
Some of the most common mistakes that people make is definitely not following the instructions. And when it comes to using press fittings, the prep is the most important part. That's probably the only thing that I would say is maybe bad about press, if I could say anything, was is you do need to do the prep steps, and you should not skip any of them. Or you may is the word, have an issue. We do have obviously some extra, foolproof things in there and leeway, but really it's when you get your copper tube, inspecting the area that you're going to be pressing on, that there's not any of the manufacturer's writing on it, or any of these deep scratches, or even zipper tubing. They'll look like little zippers along the line. If your fingernail can catch that, it's probably not best to press on it, because it could create a leak path. However, if you can sand it out with the abrasive pad or sandcloth and it doesn't exist anymore, that's totally fine. It's just after you do your cleaning and there's still scratches on there that your fingernail catches, probably not best. Next would be when you're deburring it and reaming the inside and outside of the tube. People skip that, but the most important reason to actually do that is so that you don't dislodge the seal inside of the fitting, because there is a seal inside there. That's the main component that allows the fitting to keep refrigerant out and prevents leaking, is the seal. And then the pressing itself is what gives it its strength and integrity
Gotcha.
to withhold those pressures. So that would be the two biggest things that I see. I actually see people, majority of the time, they're marking for depth and they're doing everything else, but it's the cleaning of the tube that gets missed. I mean, I've also seen people too that clearly didn't read anything or watch any little video before doing it, and they think they know it all because they press in water, and so they press in the wrong location, because we do not press over our seal, we press next to the
Yeah, and
seal.
I've seen the people that press in the wrong location. They get like these, and I don't know what happened to my camera. My camera just switched to my laptop camera instead of my good one, and I can't switch it back. So people that are watching on YouTube, I apologize for that. The camera quality just got poor, and it just did it on its own. I have no idea what happened, but I've seen where people will press in the wrong location, and it grabs the copper and it creates these like little shark fins on the copper. And if you press in the wrong location, you're ruining the fitting. Like you can never repress it again. And it doesn't take that long. There's a lot of content. Like I have one YouTube video that I put out about 4 or 5 years ago on just, I'm at the back of my van on how to prepare and prep an RLS fitting, from the cleaning to the deburring to the depth insertion to where to press onto it. So I've got a video on there how to do that. If you guys want to Google search it, HVAC know-it-all, RLS fitting prep, something like that, you'll be able to find it. But from what I understand, if this is not done right, eventually or right away, you're going to have a leak. And then it's like anything else. It's like when people install a system wrong, they don't pull a proper vacuum, or they don't nitrogen braze, or they don't pressure test properly and stuff like that. And someone goes back a year or two later because of problems, they call the unit a piece of shit where the installer didn't install it correctly. So install it correctly, learn how to install it and install it right. And you will minimize the amount of headaches that you have in the future. I mean, even with brazing, yeah, you can sometimes have a leak 10 years down the road. It just happens. So let's keep that in mind as well. So just prep is the most common mistake that people are getting wrong.
Yeah, if you just do the prep, and really it's the same prep that you should be doing when you braze.
Now, what you said about the deep scratches. Now, I've had deep scratches before, and I know you guys have that little Scotch bright pad that you put in your kit. Now, that's another brand name. So, but yeah, you can get those anywhere. But what I found with deep scratches is if I've got a deep scratch, I have to use like almost like an abrasive sand cloth or something like that. But after I'm done that, I don't like to press it after using that. I like to take that Scotch bright pad and then just buff it up. Just make it so we take, because sandcloth can leave deep scratches too. So after you get that deeper scratch out, your fingernail's not catching anymore. I like to give it a buff and a shine with that Scotch bright pad. So when I insert it, I don't have like these little micro scratches or abrasions that the grit cloth can leave.
And now I know somebody's going to go, if I have to do all of this, why wouldn't I just braze? But the reality is it's not just about speed at this point anymore. It's not like the time and the labor cost savings that play into it. It's safety that plays into it. And, what type of environments you're in, and do you want to introduce flame into them? So that would be my rebuttal to anybody that says this stinks. Why wouldn't I just braze? Well, maybe you can't. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe it's just another way, another thing.